Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to the first drive video in my new Porsche 718 Spyder. I have a few questions to answer, I think, but what a car, what a day. Oh! So as of today, I am a week and 1 day into my ownership of this beautiful Porsche 718 Spyder. I have to say a massive thank you to everybody who's tuned in and watched my collection video and also made the effort to write a comment. I am overwhelmed by the love and the support and the general thumbs up and agreement in those comments with my choice of car and spec. I also wanted to say thank you to all of those guys that were at Box and Gas Megaphonics at the weekend who came up to see the car on the Michelin stand. I enjoyed meeting all of you. It was great to chat. Many of you were Spyder owners. Many of you were Porsche 911 owners who were questioning why I hadn't bought a 911. So I have got quite a few questions to answer. I think there are three main ones, but I'll get onto those very shortly. Also, if you like the thumbnail of this video, make sure you stay tuned to the very end of the video because I did a photo shoot last week with my good mate Nick Williams, one of the best automotive photographers I know. And the pictures that he created are very special and I'm going to share those with you at the end of this video. But let me just talk you around the spec and then I'm going to answer those important questions. And on the third of those questions, we're going to go out for a drive. Now, I know I talked about quite a bit of this during my collection video, but that couple of hours I spent at Porsche Centre Stockport went so quickly and I'm sure I missed some bits out. So let me just kind of reconfirm a few things. First up, the colour, because I've had quite a few questions about this. I know it kind of looks white in some of the pictures and some of the video, but this is crayon. I think in the US you call it chalk. It is a gloss paint, but it's had a satin PPF applied. And I've actually been contacted by the previous owner, and that was really cool because I've got pictures of this car pre-delivery and understand the details of why he spec'd it the way he did. But the PPF was applied before he actually collected the car, so it's never turned a wheel without it. And I think it just sets the car off completely. I've got my McCann in gloss crayon and I love that car and that color, but the satin finish on this just highlights the sculpting and the curves, especially these beautiful speedster bumps that you get behind the passenger cabin. Other things, I was really keen to have the bucket seats. I'm going to talk about those in a minute because I have done my first modification. I wanted the upgraded stereo. I really wanted the upgraded headlamp, the Porsche Dynamic Lighting System Plus, I think Porsche call it. Bound to have got that one wrong. And then the other thing is it's got black brake calipers and satin black wheels. I have one debate as to whether I keep the wheels this colour. So here's a question for you. Put a comment in the comment section below, your thoughts. Do I keep the wheels satin black or do I paint them Aurum Gold, which is the light gold colour you get on a lot of the RS GT products? I'm still not sure. I thought I was going to do them gold when I bought the car. The more I've owned the car, the more I'm inclined to keep them black. I love the kind of black contrast and so on. And pretty much it, that's standard spec. Now, I hadn't even had this car 24 hours and I did my first modification. If you watch my collection video, you'll know that I kind of played a little bit with my houndstooth key fob. I've always loved houndstooth. And when I was looking to buy one of these, I saw a few up for sale that had the houndstooth seat inserts on the 918 buckets, and I just thought they looked spectacular. And then I found out that you can buy these and do them yourself. They're super simple to fit. So I bought these Pepita inserts from JCR and they took less than half an hour to fit. They basically just Velcro in, but they have totally changed the cabin. I think they've just lifted the cabin. They really pop. They sit so nicely with the crayon seat belts and crayon stitching, and I'm absolutely over the moon. Finally, I have a little bit of Porsche with some houndstooth. What do you think? Let's just have a very quick chat about tyres. Now, the 718 Spyder and GT4 came with Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s, but you could opt to have Pilot Sport 4Ss fitted, and actually this car was delivered with Pilot Sport 4S. I've had a set of brand new lovely Pilot Sport 4Ss fitted, and they are N marked. So the little NO there means that these tyres have been specifically designed for the 718 Spyder and GT4. I did have a discussion with myself, and I actually asked a few people. I spoke to Joe, I spoke to Michelin about whether or not I should put some Cup 2s on the car, because I've never ran a car with Cup 2s, and I there's part of me wants to try that. Cup 2s are a track day tyre with road capability. And if you're going to do lots of track days or lots of very high performance driving, they are the best in the business, a superb tyre. But I don't expect to track this car that much. I will put it on circuit. I just want to try it out and feel it, but I'm not going to be doing lots and lots of track days. So the Pilot Sport 4S is a high performance road tyre with track capability. So if I do want to do a track day, these are more than up for the job. And I think for the kind of driving I expect to do with this car, a Pilot Sport 4S is a much, much better tyre choice. I'm going to be doing a drive tour next year, and there's going to be some track driving in that tour, and it may well be that I get a set of Cup 2s fitted for that, just so I can experience the car on Cup 2s. But I am absolutely delighted with the performance of these Pilot Sport 4S tyres. But if you are going to get them for your Porsche, make sure that they are N rated, because that means they are specifically designed for that car. Okay, time to start answering some of your issues and questions. I guess the first one is, it's not a 911. Now, I have kind of talked about this a fair bit by now, but to summarise, I have always dreamed about owning a 911. I think they're a wonderful, wonderful car. And I clearly owned one for a few weeks, and that experience has kind of spooked me a little bit. My challenge is purely a budgetary one, actually. The 911 I would really want would probably be a 992 GTS Cabriolet or a GT3, either a 991 or a 992. And unfortunately, all three of those cars are out of my budget currently, or certainly beyond a budget I'm comfortable spending. Could I go older than a 991.2, maybe a 991.1, or even a 997? Many of you have suggested that. And whilst I appreciate a 997, they are beautiful things, you then get, for me, into the age versus cost issue. And you're spending quite a lot of money on a car that's probably 7, 8, 9 years old, maybe even older, depending on how far back you go. I wouldn't go back as far as 996 because that's too old. And to be honest, I've driven lots of 996s and they don't really do it for me. So that's the big challenge with a 911. I still love them, and hopefully one day I may well get one. The reason that Spyder came back onto my radar, I am a previous Boxster owner. I love the form factor. Clearly, 911s are rear-engined, and the Boxster Cayman format is a mid-engine format. And for this to have a 4-litre naturally aspirated flat six, mid-engine, 2-seat, hailed by many as one of the best sports cars ever made, and also looking forward into the future, a car that we're just not going to see cars like this anymore. So I think my money is as safe in this car as it could probably be. And that just made the Spyder a really attractive option. And then backed up by the fact, I just think they're a beautiful, beautiful looking car. The reason I'm doing this from this angle is this little ducktail, those lovely speedster bumps, the rear 3/4 view of this car is a spectacular thing. And I couldn't be more happy. So I know the big 911 fans watching are disappointed I didn't get a 911 and don't understand why I went for a Spyder. but they're the reasons. And I could probably wax lyrical and talk to you about it for a long, long time. We could have a big, long conversation over a beer, but I am more than happy with the fact that I don't have a 911. The last thing I guess to say is one of the drivers behind having a 911 was to be able to take the dogs with us. We only have one dog now, and she's already been out in this. She sits in the footwell quite happily, and we can go out for journeys, and if we wanted to go on a longer trip, we just take the Macan. First world problems, huh? Now, when you buy a car of this value and performance, it's really important to get the right insurance cover in place. And it's been a pleasure of mine to work with Lockton Performance for the last 3 and a bit years. They've insured all of my cars, and the service that I've experienced in that time has been incredible. In terms of premiums and so on, it's always quite difficult to compare and contrast. I'm a 53-year-old with no points on their licence, and the car is parked in an overnight garage. But my premium for this car is in the region of £1,000 a year, but the level of service or cover I get for that is exceptional. Anyone over the age of 35 can drive this car fully comprehensive. I can drive any other car up to the value of £150,000 fully comprehensive with the owner's permission, and that price limit's only in place because I'm a YouTuber. I get full European breakdown cover. I get track day cover on certain events. It really makes owning a car like this, it just takes all the worry away. If I need to make any changes or modifications to my policy, it's a simple email, or I've got an app I can use. I'm going to be making a really exciting announcement about myself and Lockton Performance in a few weeks' time, because not only do they insure my car, but they also insure my house and the dream garage. Anyway, let's get back to the next issue that many of you said about me buying a Spyder. I'm not so sure it's actually an issue though. Next comment then was, that roof, what a faff, it's going to drive me mad. You should have just bought a 4-litre GTS Boxster. Well, I did think about that, but then I thought it's not a massive amount of difference between my old car and that, apart from the extra 2 cylinders, and more cabin space. But honestly, this roof, the biggest pain is you have to stop the car and get out. But I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, because you can get the roof up quite quickly. Let's put a stopwatch on this. 3, 2, 1. Pop the bonnet. This comes up. Now, the most important thing is getting it watertight. The car is now watertight. We then put this down. We've got these 2 little buttresses just here. In, in, windows all the way up, and then the last thing we need to do, stop the clock. That's the worst one. That's actually happened to me already once. Day 3 of ownership, I was driving back from the other side of Chichester, saw a big black cloud over my house and thought, oh no, am I going to get home before the rain starts? And I didn't make it. I had to pull over to the side of the road and put the roof up, and it really wasn't so much of a hassle. So that's putting it up. Taking it down. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Dink, dink, dink. Now we do this. Do-do-do. And then you've got these little flaps. 1, 2, and then if you really want to be windows up or windows down, stop the clock. It's not a faff. Well, I haven't told Tracy yet. Maybe she won't be quite as impressed. It's days like today when the sun is shining and the sky is blue and you're out in a Spyder with a roof down that you really have to pinch yourself that this is your car. Now, before I get on to the main subject of this video, I want to just briefly cover off these seats, because a few people have said they're a pain. Well, getting in and out of them, there's a technique. I tend to put my hand on the central console and on the sill and just kind of ease myself down into them, just so I don't scuff the side bolster. But apparently there's like a little thing you can buy to put over those to just make them wear better. And then once you're actually in the seat, they are so supportive and so comfortable. And a few people have said, oh, if you do a long journey, they're going to give you backache. Fingers crossed, so far that's not happened. I did 4.5 hours pretty much without stopping on the way back from Stockport, and I was fresh as a daisy when I got in. They're very supportive. I guess it helps my frame. I'm quite a narrowed hip kind of guy, so the seats are lovely. But the thing I need to talk about is this PDK, the fact I've only got 2 pedals, because many of you have pointed out, if you go back and watch my first Spyder review when these first came out and they were only available with a 6-speed manual, this is what I said. Now then, calm myself down. Let me just talk about manual gearboxes. Please, performance car manufacturers, Porsche, you kind of get it. You did the 911R with a manual box. You've done the GT4, now you've done the new GT4 718 and the Spyder with a manual box. Just do manual boxes, people. Yes, flappy paddle for some people, but honestly, if you want to produce driver's cars, if you want to give the driver the control, the feeling that they're actually doing the work, stick a manual gearbox in a car. It makes such a difference. No matter how good a flappy paddle gearbox can be, it's never as engaging as literally swapping the cog to yourself and I mean, that was a second to first down change. Didn't really need to do that. But nothing can beat it. So then, what are my final impressions of the 718 Spyder? I really want one. Yeah. And if you watch my 911 ST video, I pretty much said a similar thing with that as well. I raved about a manual gearbox. And I've said about this car being so special and being perhaps the best sports car ever made, certainly one of the best made by Porsche, the fact you can get it in a manual gearbox. Why didn't I get a manual? Well, there's a few reasons. First up, I would love a manual gearbox in this car, don't get me wrong. But for me, manual gearboxes are amazing for maybe 30 to 40% of the driving you're likely to do. You go out for a nice drive on a B road near home, and yeah, sure, swapping cogs is brilliant, and the gearbox in the Spyder is a phenomenal piece of kit. It's a well-documented fact that the gearbox in the Spyder, to help get the car through emissions, was very tall geared. You can do 85 miles an hour in second gear in a Spyder. And what that generally means is, if you want to keep the car beyond 5,000 RPM in that exciting zone, you're going really, really quickly, and you don't end up changing gear all that often at all. And the PDK has a slightly shorter gearing. But for me, it's the kind of driving I love doing in my cars, the drive tour driving on an alpine pass, when you're really on it and you're changing gear a lot. That's when this PDK gearbox will come into its own. And that for me was solidified a little bit when I drove the Spyder RS, because you can only get one of those with a PDK gearbox. And I know the engine's different and the redline's different, but driving that car really made me think, okay, I kind of get the car with a PDK gearbox. So much as I appreciate everyone's comments about manuals and the fact that I'm a big fan of manuals, and hurrah to Porsche for making them, for me and the kind of driving, and then you get even talking about track driving, I've mentioned already in this video, I'm not going to do a huge amount of track driving, but if I did, I'd probably want a PDK. Not because I'm going for out and out lap times, I just find it's such a good gearbox. But in this Spyder, what it allows you to do is keep the car in the exciting part of the rev range more often, and the gear changes are super, super slick. The final part is, I'm not the only one that's going to be driving this car. Tracy is going to drive it as well, and she really likes an automatic car, really likes the PDK gearbox that's in the Macan that we had in the Boxster. And when we were looking at these, she said, look, I'd really prefer it if we could find a PDK car. And as I'm sure many of you will appreciate, if you get buy-in from your other half about buying an 80-odd thousand pound Porsche, and she's happy with it if it's an automatic, you buy an automatic, right? There is one downside of having your car sat in PPF if you're a YouTuber, and that is you can't stick camera mounts to it, so quite limited camera placement on this car. The other thing the car doesn't have, it doesn't have any drive modes. It's in kind of the top drive mode all the time. The only thing you can do is put the loud exhaust button on, which is on, and you can also put the PDK gearbox into sport. So if it's going to change on its own, it just does that with a little bit more urgency, but I'm going to stick it in manual override. I'm going to knock it down a couple of cogs, and I'm going to go to the paddles, and I'm just going to enjoy this car. It puts a smile on my face like you would not believe. It really, really does. This effectively has the front end from the GT3, so suspension and brakes. The engine's actually from a 992 Carrera, which has been bored out, different head, so 4 litres, 420 horsepower. But the noise it makes is just symphonous. Now, I'm going to say something here, and I've had a few people reach out and say this as well. I owned a 4-pot Boxster, and I always used to describe that as sounding different, not better. The 6-cylinder Boxer engine in Boxster Cayman 911 just has this magnificent sound, and when you get in this car, straight away you're like, oh yeah, okay, sounds way better than a 4-pot. And it comes on song, kind of 4,500, 5,000 RPM. It just opens just has this lovely kind of growl that comes on. And you go all the way up to the 8,000 RPM red line. You go Spyder RS, that's clearly got the GT3 engine in it and a 9,000 RPM red line. But this one, 8, and it sounds bloody epic. The steering feel and just the general poise of the car is just mega. It's phenomenal. It deals with the bumps so well. That was a slightly optimistic pull out there, sir. Now you can, I've got the adjustable suspension, so there is a firmer damper setting. But to be quite honest, that is not something I would use on the public road. It's definitely like a track day setting, or if you're on the silky smooth roads of the Pyrenees or the Alps, you'd probably put it into that. But I can't begin to express just how much I love driving this car. The auditory engagement is next level, and then this PDK gearbox, it just has the most fantastic change, whether that's on the way up or on the way down. And it just allows you to really concentrate on your driving, keep your hands on the steering wheel. And just exploit the epic handling that this car gives you. Having this much fun in a 911? Of course I would. But it really is a mega chassis, a mega platform. And I love it to bits. I can't wait for the adventures that I'm going to have in this car. Oh, just need to plan a road trip now. So there you go. My first drive of the 718 Spyder. It's an epic thing. I can't imagine I'm going to do a great deal of things to the car because it's such a perfect spec. One of the things I loved about the car when I saw it online is if I were to spec this car from new, I imagine back in the day, in 2022, I had a build slot from Porsche and I went onto the configurator. This is it pretty much. I'd either spec it like this, or I'd be a real baller and go paint the sample oak green metallic, over tan leather interior with some customized bucket seats. But yeah, this is my dream car. What do you think? As you can tell by the moronic grin on my face, I'm a big fan. I like it a lot. I like just dropping it down and then... Oh yes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next episode. You take care, guys. Drive safe and check out these awesome pictures from my mate Nick. Cheers, Nick.